It is said there is no greater or more successful friendship in the business world than that of Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. The more than 5-decade partnership ended yesterday, 2 months shy of Munger's 100th birthday. Munger passed away peacefully in California. What will live on is the friendship that created one of the most profitable investments for the shareholders who took a chance on the 2 kids from Omaha, Nebraska. Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett spent so many minutes, days, and decades together building Berkshire Hathaway into a nearly $800 billion juggernaut that Buffett's daughter Susie told me they began to look like twin brothers. Their twinning extended to their uncompromising promise to buy great businesses, but only at a fair price, a religion so unyielding that in 1972, they almost missed out on what would to date become their sweetest cash printing machine. Do you remember how the Seas conversation went down when you bought Seas?
See,
we were both idiots.
yeah.
And finally, one of my old partners said to me, "You guys are too cheap. This is a wonderful business. Why don't you grow up?" And I looked over at Warren, and he looked over at me, and we paid an extra $100,000 reluctantly.
On many issues, Buffett played the more diplomatic, avuncular partner to Munger's sometimes brutally blunt, but often clear-eyed assessments. Warren, you called healthcare the tapeworm of American economic competitiveness.
True.
That's a lovely image.
Well, it deserves it. I mean, our health care may be the best in the world. And Bill would know more about that than I would. But the truth is, it's gone from 5% of GDP to 17%, and there's only 100 points in the dollar.
Charlie,
it's a cost.
You took it a step further, and when I was sitting there in the press box, people were either kind of chittery or gasping when you said, "We're giving too much chemotherapy to people that are all but dead."
That's right.
Okay.
I'm trying to be popular, as you can tell.
Yeah, playing to the crowd.
Playing to the crowd.
Why do you say that?
Because it's true. It's asinine to pour a lot of chemotherapy into people that are all but dead. Makes them miserable. It costs a lot of money. It does no good for anybody.
But Munger, a registered Republican, and his more liberal partner Buffett weren't in lockstep on everything. We were talking earlier before you joined us about taxes here in the United States. Should we, with this gigantic deficit we have, should we have extended the Bush tax cuts, Charlie?
No. I would argue that we could stand a little higher taxes on people like me.
One of the things that I noticed during this weekend meeting was that you and Warren disagreed on a couple of issues, but the one that struck me the most was your issue on corporate tax rates. Warren feels that corporations should be taxed more. They have the money. You say no. Why?
Well, I think it's a disadvantage to have your tax rate less than the tax rate elsewhere in the world. And so I don't think we're in total control of our own tax rates. Meaning I think it would be crazy to have a tax rate in the United States 50% and have it 20% generally throughout the rest of the world.
And when it came to the Bitcoin craze, Munger's position, which he famously stated during our 2015 and 2018 conversations on Fox Business, was ruthless. This digital currency that's out there that people say, oh, it might be the next big thing. What do you think?
I think it's rat poison.
Put him down as undecided.
He's anything but undecided. This weekend, Vice Chair Charlie Munger likened trading cryptocurrency to, quote, trading turds. The always eloquent Charlie Munger joins us now. Hi, Charlie. Thank you for being here. This is getting a lot of attention, more than it probably deserves, because there are much bigger issues that we deal with here. But, Charlie, did you know there was supposed to be a Bitcoin conference this weekend in Omaha? Had they asked, you could have been the keynote speaker. Would you have said yes?
Well, they were probably crowded out by a group of people that wanted to have a conference on sewage.
When you called rat poison 5 years ago, right here in these chairs on Fox Business, you called it rat poison, but that was when it was about $150. Today it's $9,000. It had hit $19,000.
So it's more expensive rat poison.
One thing upon which both Buffett and Munger remained intransigent was how to spend Berkshire's cash pile. The two always agreed that using it to pay shareholders a cash dividend was never the best way to deploy capital. 10 years from now, as you look at the stock, which is at about $220,000 per share, which is unbelievable because it's never split, no dividend. 10 years from now, Charlie, which part of that will be changed?
I don't think it will pay a dividend. I don't think it will split. And I think it will be considerably higher 10 years from now. Those are easy questions.
I agree with him. They are easy questions, and I agree with what he said.
Yeah, but I can't, I might not. Listen, God willing, you'll be here so I can redo the tape and say.
I confidently predict I won't be here.
Oh, we wish he were still here. Charlie Munger gone at the age of 99, but boy, is he not forgotten. Let's bring in the man who has studied the inner workings of Berkshire Hathaway intensely. He's written not one, not two, but 4 books on the conglomerate and the 2 richest minds behind it, Warren Buffett and, of course, Charlie Munger. We welcome Lawrence Cunningham, former legal professor GW, joining me now, first on Fox Business. I know you were so close with them. What's a day like this today mean for you?
Well, cried a little. I'm sure Warren is despondent and bereft. At the same time, you're right that he brought a lot of joy, intelligence, and wisdom to a large number of people. And so there's a big community out there coming together, even on a sad day like this, with a tiny bit of joy.
You know, you talk about when they first met. It was years after both of them, albeit at different times, because Warren was 7 years younger than Charlie, worked at Warren's grandfather's grocery store. But Charlie has often said, in Poor Charlie's Almanac, by the way, the book that Warren gave this to me many years ago, and he said, you have to read this because it is so chock full of, Mungerisms that are just too brilliant to be true. But they are. And the minute they met at a dinner party, what happened? It was like a mind melding, wasn't it? And they, with a handshake, started working together.
Yeah, they instantly knew that they could learn a lot from each other, that they had shared values, the same analytical ability, the same passion for learning and for reading. But I think they had a sense that they could help each other, complement each other, and that's really what they went ahead and did. They had a lot in common, but they had some strengths that the other one didn't have.
Well, Charlie had gone into the U.S. Army. And after he served, he went to Harvard Law School, and he was a lawyer, but he realized, wait a minute, I don't think it's a very attractive way to make money by sending people invoices. And he jumped aboard with Warren, but together, the way they viewed business, talk about that.
Well, it's interesting with Charlie. He founded what is now one of the most influential law firms in the world. So that's another feather in his cap. Munger, Tolles and Olson. Their offices all over the world. They're involved in all important transactions, and it's terrific. But he started the firm. But then I think Warren talked him out of staying in the practice of law. And the way I remember Charlie explaining it is he thought, his clients are getting rich, but he's not. So he wanted to get on that side. And he was a great lawyer. He's got a great legal brain, and he actually helped Berkshire on legal matters for many years. Even after he stopped practicing, he wrote contracts and negotiated things. So he was a huge value to the company in many ways.
The way he viewed things, and I learned this over the years of interviewing him, and this is really important for a lot of you watching right now. He said that his success came from the art of waiting without tiring of waiting. Meaning, he said, you look at those hedge funds, they don't even know how to wait. They want to make decisions really quickly. And he said, but I have sat for years at a time with money in treasuries just waiting for that perfect lower priced opportunity so that he didn't overpay.
Patience and that kind of discipline is something they had in common. Warren felt the same way. And I can't measure them against each other, but Charlie was even willing to tell Warren, please don't do that. Warren wasn't motivated by action, but even at a time when the cash pile is growing and the opportunity looked good, Charlie would be very rational about the evaluation, and if the business wasn't attractive or had some risks associated with it, too much hair on it, he'd tell Warren he shouldn't do it.
Well, he really hated Bitcoin, and he thought he didn't like artificial intelligence. This is, good old-fashioned human intelligence is doing just fine for me. But there was another viewpoint that he had, and that was that the fancy people with, quote, high IQs were the very people who often got this country into a lot of trouble by betting too much on certain things. I mean, the long-term capital management, Russian ruble disaster, which may predate a lot of you watching, but there were emergency meetings with the Federal Reserve and a lot of bankers. He said this: I constantly see people rise in life who are not the smartest, sometimes not even the most diligent, but they are learning machines. They go to bed every night a little wiser when they get up, and boy, does that help, particularly when you have a long run ahead of you, which is inspiring for people who didn't go to Ivy Leagues or don't have that great, IQ, supposedly, right? I mean, that's how he viewed things.
He thought learning is a duty. Like, people were obliged to read and read as much as they can, learn something new every day, develop wisdom every day, and he certainly lived that. I think he was infectious. Tens of thousands of people following Berkshire have that same sensibility.
What do you know, Larry, about Charlie that most of us don't?
Well, we know him as a curmudgeonous, cynical public figure, and he certainly deserves that because he, as you showed in many of your clips, but he had a very soft, sweet side too, and in fact, in some ways,
and a smile. I mean, those smiles.
He's hysterical. In some ways, it was a bit being partnered, being paired with Warren. Warren had the amiable, forward sort of social aspect, and so Charlie was playing the number two, playing the straight man a little bit. In private and in his own life, he's just as amiable, jovial as Warren.
Oh, hilarious. And I want to share something with our viewers. I once asked him which company he absolutely admired the most, but I asked him after I asked about sustainable energy, which, listen, Berkshire Hathaway is a huge energy division that checks all the boxes, both green and fossil fuels. And he had said first, he said, if we don't harness the wind, the sun, and water, we're just stupid. But then he said that the company he most admired of all, the way it was run, was ExxonMobil. He was a capitalist. He called things like he saw them, and he gave credit where he felt credit was due.
Yeah, I mean, he called it like he sees him. I mean, I think Warren, that's another thing he has in common with Warren. I mean, Charlie may have been far more direct than Warren, but look, Warren has written about energy and the energy transition, and I think the investments that you've seen Berkshire making in the past couple of years indicate that fossil fuels, they may need to be managed, but they're not going to disappear. And so,
right. Well, Occidental Petroleum, they're taking a huge stake there.
Yeah.
It's great to have you. Yeah,
a few
tears, and I'm so grateful to have poor Charlie's Almanac here. But the Ducks, you're wondering, every year, because they own Oriental Trading, which is the party store that makes a bunch of things, they come out with the Warren and Charlie Ducks. And Charlie's duck, I mean, are they so cute? But they're almost the same, and I've collected them over the years. And it's bittersweet now. There will be one duck, but Charlie's quacking will live on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
Charlie Munger, one of a kind, yesterday gone at the age of 99. We will be right back.